everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to T1D with Maddie, episode number 8. And I got this idea inspired from one of you, talking with one of you in the comments here, talking about how you guys, how you've been doing intermittent fasting and kind of like how you imply this into your diabetes management. And here I'm going to shed some light on it a little bit. I'm not a wholehearted expert in this, and as always, do your own research before you implement any diabetes care techniques into your own life, because you need to figure out what works best for you. But today I'm going to basically kind of explain it, and then I'm going to give you my side of it. Do I think intermittent fasting or fasting for long periods of time in general is safe for a type 1 diabetic? Could be different for a type 2, so if you're a type 2 diabetic watching my videos, all fine and dandy, but I think it could be way different with a type 2 diabetic, or you may have different reactions because you're more likely to be taking oral medication versus just a type 1 is just taking insulin. So first of all, intermittent fasting could have thousands of different definitions, but the basic definition is just any period of time when you're not going to be eating. Some people go on the long fast for like 24 hours. Some people do it for religious reasons, and other people do it on different diets. Like for example, the keto diet, like on the ketogenic diets or specific diets that involve fasting as part of like the way to lose weight or get your body back in better shape, may use this to help them. And fasting can occur not naturally. Like for me, recovering from a stomach bug, I actually did a lot of fasting, believe it or not, because you're not going to want to eat a lot and you're going to naturally put your body into some form of ketosis. Now, the ketosis is not unhealthy because it's a healthier state of ketosis in which your body is just using your own body fat that you have stored around your abdomen, in your arms, or in your legs. These are called glycogen stores. Your liver will actually store any excess energy that you take in from food, and if you don't burn it, it gets stored as fat, which is stored sugar known as glycogen. So intermittent fasting can help you shrink this down, but it can also help with your blood sugars if you're a type 1 diabetic. So intermittent fasting or fasting in general can be great depending on how you use it and if you're going to do it in a safe manner. When I kind of did my fast, I didn't do it on purpose, but when I wasn't eating a ton, recovering from the stomach bug, you're going to notice some changes in your body. You're going to notice that you're going to have to reduce your basal rate significantly because your liver's eventually not going to be able to secrete as much glucose, so you're going to eventually start narrowing down all your glycogen stores to where you're not going to have as much left. So your basal rates are going to be way low, and if you're not eating a lot of carbohydrate or you're not eating anything for as far as like carbohydrate source was what your body really wants in the first place for energy, your bolus doses aren't going to be there. And you can get good stable blood sugars out of periods of intermittent fasting. I know when I went to the dentist, they ask all the time, me being a dental hygienist, like that's something I have to ask diabetic patients is when was your last meal, because we're concerned about insulin shock. We're concerned that they may have a hypoglycemia attack in the chair while we're working on their teeth or while we're cleaning their teeth, and we don't want that happening. And I told them my last meal was like 9:30 and I had my cleaning at like 3 in the afternoon, and they're like, you can skip that long in between meals? I said, yes, as long as my basal rate is set as a type 1 diabetic, I can do anything. And then they're like, well, yeah, as long as you have everything set right, you can do it. So if you have your basal rate set right no matter what, if you want to fast or not, you're not going to have problems with low blood sugars. That is your only real risk with intermittent fasting, is having your blood sugars plummet because of not having appropriate background insulin to match the needs of your liver and your body at the time it's actually fasting. So if you're going to do this, I would take a look at your rates right now, and if you see you're consistently going low a lot, even with eating, and you have to constantly shove food in your mouth, good sign your basal rate's too high. I know, like me being Catholic, they want us to fast on Fridays for Lent. I haven't done this in a long time, but I've gone 8, 9, 10 hours and been totally fine and had really beautiful stable blood sugars from skipping lunch. And I think it's really a neat thing to just like know that because I have my basal set right, and if I want to skip a meal or I'm going to go induce exercise and I don't want active bolus and active food in my body to kind of end up making my blood sugars go all over the place, knowing that fasting can keep stability is such an amazing thing when you have all your other ratios, like your basal rates, aligned correctly. So I wouldn't start extreme if you're going to go with intermittent fasting, and I definitely wouldn't do it if you're on like an oral medication in addition to insulin, because that just adds 10,000 different factors. You may be able to do this if you're like a pre-diabetic, which is a definition of somebody who just has elevated blood sugars that could eventually turn into type 2 diabetes. This may help you actually keep your blood sugars normal because it allows your body and your pancreas to rest, and it allows the insulin that your pancreas makes to take the sugars and put them into the cells so that your blood sugar naturally goes lower. And for people that do it for religious reasons, that do it a lot, and if you're a diabetic, you probably get used to having to adjust your rates for that reason, and you know the impacts that it has on your body. But I don't fast for more than 8 or 9 hours just because I love food way too much. But on the days that I don't want to eat lunch, or the days that I know like, hey, I want to reset, and let me tell you, I get such beautiful blood sugars that sit between like 100 and 120, or even like 80 and 120, like normal blood sugars when I do intermittent fasting. There's nothing wrong with it. But the only, like I said, the only danger is low blood sugar if you take diabetes medications, or if you're on insulin, like a type 1 diabetic, and you don't have your rates set properly. Then you're going to have so many problems, and you're going to have to break your fast to treat a low blood sugar. And it also really doesn't work if you're doing a lot of heavy exercise with this fasting. But if you're doing nothing and sitting on the couch all day and you're like, I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat lunch, go for it. It isn't going to hurt you. And it's actually a great way if you do want to lose some weight, because it will force your body into healthy ketosis, which is not diabetic ketoacidosis. It's way different. A diabetic ketoacidosis is either caused by high blood sugars and a lack of insulin, or really roller coastery blood sugars with a lack of insulin. So it's not diabetic ketoacidosis. You're not going to go into DK if you fast. You will probably have ketones, but it takes some time for them to build up. But they're not going to be unhealthy ketones. They're just going to be ketones that your body's going to naturally produce, because your body's going to naturally want to break your fat down for energy, because you're not feeding your body with glucose. You're not feeding your body with carbs. So the next thing is fat to break down for energy. Like I said, I think this month in August, I'm going to take 3 weeks or just a whole weekend of videos to talk about carbohydrates in one video, fats in one video, and proteins in another, and show you what they look like and how your body uses them for energy. So that's my thoughts on intermittent fasting. Again, please do your own research. Please talk to your doctor if you have any questions, but I don't have a problem with people doing it, and I'm not against people that do it for long periods of time or whatever. It can help you lose weight if you're looking at that from that aspect, because you will have to burn your own fat for energy. I also really only recommend using intermittent fasting or fasting in general if you have access to a continuous glucose monitor as a type 1 diabetic, particularly because then you can have an idea of what your blood sugar is every 5 minutes, whereas if you're just doing finger pricks, you're not going to get a picture of what's going on, and you may not get an idea of like treating dangerous highs or lows before they get really bad. So if you're going to be doing intermittent fasting and you want to do this, try getting on a continuous glucose monitor first, or if you're on a continuous glucose monitor, you should be more set versus just finger pricks, but I'm sure you can do it with just finger pricks, but that would be my recommendation to you guys also. So anyways, as always, keep in mind that this is just my opinion. This is what I've seen, this is what I've experienced, this is what I've learned. Doesn't mean that you're going to agree with me. It doesn't mean that you're going to follow suit with what I do, but I will always leave links down below to articles or online valid or more appropriate or intelligent based online websites where you can get a good start on research for yourself and see if this can apply into your diabetes life. I probably wouldn't even do this if you're like in the honeymoon stage, because like when I was first diagnosed, like I had so many low blood sugars, like it was crazy. No matter even if I took such little itty bitty bits of insulin or no insulin at all, I'd have like low blood sugars constantly. So if you're honeymooning, I also would not recommend this. But if you're well in past your honeymoon, or like you've been diabetic for a year and you have your ratios pretty well set and stable for your body on days that you're not sick or days that you're not experiencing something weird, try this. This isn't a bad thing to try, but I can't force you to do it, and nor am I responsible for anything that happens to you during this time. So as always, I will have research down below for you guys to look at. And don't forget that if you want me to talk about any controversial topics that have to revolve around the management and care of type 1 diabetes, comment them down below. You may just end up sparking an idea for me to do a T1D with Maddie episodes, which air on the 1st of the month. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up. Feel free to hit that subscribe button down below. I post videos every single week about diabetes plus more. And until tomorrow for another video, take care, God bless, be kind, spread positivity, and be thankful. Bye.